Welcome everyone to our update, the brief for the February update 2025 for the Le Mans Ultimate, which also brings the pack 4 of the 2024 DLC pack out to the public. So we obviously will hear first from Mr. Houdini what are the updates, and then I'm sure you guys are particularly interested about my personal thoughts and my expectations, and maybe also some interesting notes towards these updates. So we get going straight away.
Number 1. More LMGT3 cars. It turns out our LMGT3 cars have been quite popular. Whilst the 4 cars launched in December was a nice appetizer, the next 3 are about to give the grid even more personality. As part of 2024 Pack 4, the first new challenger to Le Mans Ultimate is the Porsche 911 GT3R. Powered by the iconic flat-six engine, it's sure to become a firm favourite. Also part of the Pack 4 release is the Aston Martin Vantage AMR LMGT3. The British marque has been an ever-present manufacturer at Le Mans, and this second-generation GT3 machine will be new to many sim racing fans. At the beginning of the 2024 season programme, we promised a second free car to add to the McLaren 720S, and we're excited to tell you this will take the shape of some impressive American muscle. The Ford Mustang LMGT3 is about to roar its way into your hearts as you take to the track.
So of course the cars being the big talking point that are coming now to Le Mans Ultimate, which will be the Porsche, the Ford and the Aston Martin. But in this particular moment, I'm just curious about your thoughts. Are you more of a flat six engine noise enthusiast that will enjoy the Porsche, or are you rather going for the roaring muscle car, the Ford Mustang, or are you more of a gentleman driver going with the Aston Martin? Let me know down in the comments area below. What are your expectations regarding the cars? Which is your favorite car out of those 3 coming to the simulation? Personally, I go with the Porsche here. I love the iconic flat six engine sounds. It's going to be so great to drive it. It obviously has an interesting style of driving, but we'll figure that out in the next weeks to come. But of course, cars aren't the only thing coming to Le Mans Ultimate, and we're going to speak about them in a more dedicated video, maybe as a live stream at some point when they are out. But let's find out about more updates coming next week.
Number 2. Enhanced LMGT3 tyre model. We're excited to get your feedback on our improved tyre model, a significant update from our last release. Working with real-world drivers and data, we've been able to update the model, implemented only on the LMGT3 class model. This is arriving first for the LMGT3 class. Once refined, you can expect the other classes to receive updates to their models. What's different? Well, the overall feeling should be both more realistic and stable, enabling you to push with confidence throughout your stint. This was one of the biggest pieces of feedback from our real-world driver testers, and we believe we've made a significant step forward. The balance has shifted slightly more rearwards, creating a more stable feeling and should allow more aggressive setups to enter an operating window. There's also more load sensitivity on the rear tyres, which will reduce the push found typically at higher speeds. Additionally, the slip curve along with the transient thermal grip loss have been tightened up, resulting in more grip and performance loss from pushing the tyres beyond its limits. We've also tuned thermal degradation slightly upwards, reducing the benefits from aggressive sliding, particularly over longer stints. Taking care of your tyres is essential for endurance racing.
So, GT3 cars get a new tyre model update. So what does that mean? What has Stefan HUD said? And I'm going to try to translate that a little bit. So he mentioned that the balance is shifting a lot more rearwards, which allows more aggressive setups. That does mean we're probably having much more understeery cars. And you know, one of the key issues and one of the key criticism of the community has been that the cars can be drift slided a lot, that the cars can be overdriven a lot for performance. So we had this kind of R-Factor 2-esque drift sliding car coming back, and greetings go out to Gamer Muscle for the drift sliding Mitchie. Right, before I drop backwards, we keep going on. It allows the setup to be more aggressive, so that will indeed mean you need to have more mechanical grip, more mechanical rotation coming from the car as the car most likely being much more understeer and lazy in turning. However, there were a couple of more mentions which are particularly interesting, such as the load sensitivity being increased, the thermal degradation being adopted, the general wear and degradation being adopted. So even if you were going like, okay, you know what, instead of sliding the rear, I'm gonna just go full yeet on the steering wheel, that most likely is a bad idea as well, because that will eat up your front tires in like no time. And as he has mentioned, something about endurance cars is also about tire management. I think we need to really make sure to keep these tires happy at all times, whether that is on the front or on the rear. So even though if you would be able to excessively drift slide the cars, you will probably see a performance drop going along in the stint. But of course, this is just the theory so far. This is nothing that we've been able to test yet, and I'm pretty sure once the new cars are out and once the updated Tyre comes to the all-around GT3 cars, which also means to the existing car, you know, McLaren, Ferrari, BMW and the Corvette, we have to redefine, we have to check, we have to take these cars out, take our setups, see what happens if we adjust them accordingly, meaning putting the center of gravity a bit further to the front, like generally having a more bitey front end that we already may have or may not have, and see how that really develops over a stint. So let's see how the community is dealing with that. And on this occasion, once again, sounds like a stupid pattern, but I would be interested in your opinion. How did you find the LMGT3 Tyre model up to this date? What are you expecting from the new Tyre model, given of the things that you've heard? Let me know down in the comments area below. We're going to review the topics and the comments and see whom of you was right. Before we obviously move forwards with more updates, please make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, ring the bell for more Le Mans Ultimate update and news videos, and of course, live streams. But back to Stephen Hood with more updates.
Number 3. New track layouts. As they say, variety is the spice of life, and in this update we're incorporating some new layouts for some of the existing tracks in Le Mans Ultimate. Fuji will be gaining what we expect to be a popular modification to Sector 3, with a layout that removes the tricky chicane. Monza Curva Grande bypasses the traditional Turn 1 incidents and moves them to Turn 4 instead. Spa-Francorchamps doesn't have any layout changes, but we have added the endurance pit lane. This will now allow up to 62 drivers to take on the Ardennes Challenge in a single grid. Our two American tracks, Sebring and Circuit of the Americas, will be receiving two shorter layouts that are perfect, particularly for LMGT3 racing. Sebring has the school layout that cuts through following Turn 1 back into the normal Sector 3. Meanwhile, COTA sees racers cut through from Turn 6 onto the back straight. Bahrain has the largest number of new variable layouts, with the endurance layout the new longest option to race at, which is not to be confused with the default Grand Prix layout used in WEC. There is also the paddock variant cutting through from Sector 1 to 3. Again, another likely LMGT3 favourite. Finally, the most exciting track layout for me is the outer circuit, which in hypercars can be particularly fun. For fans of hitting warp speed, Circuit de la Sarthe or Le Mans will be available in no chicane mode. It's time to dust off the low downforce setup and get into the slipstream of the car in front.
So I guess I'm going to be asked for more comments and impressions and opinions of you guys. Track layouts. Now, you know that in Le Mans Ultimate efficiency is key, but with the endurance pit lane into Spa on a 2-time fuel consumption race, I can see someone really doing 204s, 205s in hypercar, which is like 4 to 5 seconds off the pace, in order to not have to go through that endlessly long pit road. So far I've been really happy with the Grand Prix pit layout, but let's see, that will add a big opportunity for the future, of course, since Spa is now allowing 62 cars on the grid, as we have 2 garage spots. So that will be amazing, I think, for longer events later on with a really busy track. Yes, Monza and Le Mans without the chicanes. I mean, we can start picking up a record for like fastest hypercar in the world, going down Mulsanne straight for like 5 kilometers straight. 360s, 370 maybe. No idea what the top speed's gonna be like. So yeah, again, guys, I'm interested to hear your opinions on it. Personally, for me, I'm not too sure if this is a real great update for me, as also as the content is nothing particularly new. It is basically a goodie for all the users though, and it adds admittedly a little bit of a variety. Something that I do look forwards though is the endurance layout of Bahrain. You guys remember in 2009 or 2010 Formula 1 was be like, hey, let's do that long lap, and we agree probably for a Formula 1 Grand Prix this wasn't particularly great. However, between turn 4 and turn 6 on the Grand Prix layout, there's this, slope that you do with a couple of tight corners and chicanes. I assume from a technical point of view, being super quick, being consistent, being fast in those areas though is a challenge, and that's why I'm looking forward to races with the endurance layout. So lap times will get up to like 2 minutes and something, but I think that will be an interesting one. That is actually the track layout I'm looking forward to the most. But again, I'm interested in your thoughts, I'm interested in your opinions on it, and most importantly, which of the changes are going to be the first one you are going to test out? Let me know down in the comments area below. And last but not least, I think we have one other update coming, which will be, for me, the best to come.
Number 4. HUD Improvements. In this release, we've taken a hard look at the data that's available to you whilst you're racing. The standings in the top left of the screen have been updated to include live tyre compound and virtual energy data, just as teams have access to in real-life competition. You'll also be able to see if players around you have any penalties upcoming. The relative screen within the multifunction display, or MFD for short, has had improvements made to the signposting of which cars are directly in competition with you. There's now a gradient red for drivers that are or about to be a lap ahead, and blue for drivers a lap behind. In the top right section of the screen, you'll find the addition of your last lap showcased on the screen to help your awareness of current performance. Additionally, the delta has been given a reset delta keybind, and the sector splits have been reassessed to ensure accuracy. There's also an estimated number of laps when in the race session, which is based on the top category that should help you when inputting the amount of virtual energy required when needing a splash and dash. One of our most highly voted for requests on the community forum, a damage display, has also been added. You'll see 4 states: white for normal, yellow for minor damage, red for major, and flashing red for something being missing, probably worth a pit stop at that point.
So the updates then to the heads-up display, and I think this is a huge one, and this is adding a lot of benefit and a lot of accessibility to the overall driving experience itself, because we're going to talk about them step by step. Maybe let's start first with the top right corner. We see our last lap time so that we can monitor the performance. We can now also reset the delta bar. So whenever we okay, this is rain now, we're 9 seconds off the dry pace, but when does the track actually go faster? So on the point where you yep, no further rain, you reset the bar, and then you see how the track is improving, how your lap times are improving all around. That is an interesting feature that for sure makes testing, racing a lot more accessible when it comes to performance logging or performance observation in the car. The second big update, and I think this is probably the most anticipated and for me personally the most interesting one, in the top left now, we are, I would have had to switch that around anyway, we are now seeing the total grid as much as we can, I think up to 10 people, so not only 5, that is like the top 2, or the 2 ahead of you and the 2 behind of you, maybe the leader at the very top. So there was a very limited information about the race standings in the first place. However, what is very important and very interesting, as in for an engineering point of view, is you can now see which kind of tires are people on around you. We've seen in the shot that if you have the front left on the soft, it's a red one, or the front left on the hard, that is a red one. The other 3 tires on the medium, those are the green, the yellow ones. So you can really see what is the tire compound people are running Whether that is fresh tyres or double-cylinder tyres remains unknown. But more specifically, we now see the virtual energy levels in their car. And at first sight, I was like, yeah, that is a great addition. I now know what people's strategies are looking like. However, if we're looking at the odometer down there where the ref meter and stuff is, a subtle thing has changed that has not been mentioned but was seen in the screenshot. So virtual energy is now not only is not given out in 100% or 65% anymore, is now 100 and whatever kilowatts are available. That has pros and cons. That now means you also have to consider if a car that is shown on the HUD has now 80% of virtual energy left, and then you look at yourself and be like, yeah, but I got 125 kilowatt hours left, so what's the deal with that? So you need to kind of know where are you sitting yourself. So you need to be like, okay, 128 divided by 160, which is the maximum capacity, and then you find out that this is something slightly above 75%, maybe 76, 77. But you need to, deal with that. There has to be that transmission. So my first initial criticism on this one is like, why do you speak about percentage on the one hand, but about kilowatt, like a specific number on the other side? I would have loved to see that being the same. However, what is good though on the 128.6 kilowatt hours remaining is the fact that the consumption that you're taking out of that battery level, of that virtual energy tank, is now being way more precise. Whereas, 56% could mean 55.6 or 56.4, but it would still say 56. Now with 128.6 and a consumption of 6.7 kilowatt hours per lap, you can determine exactly where you're sitting. So that is a huge, absolutely huge benefit. Next up has to do with the timings again. We've seen in the bottom left corner on the MFD, we have now seen sector times compared to yourself, compared to your current. I think also green. There were a lot of green numbers, so I guess personal bests. So I would assume white for non-personal best sectors. I have to admit, so far, this timing sheet down in the MFD has been pretty useless for me. It's like, didn't tell me anything. I'm very much interested in seeing whether it actually starts telling you something now, as you are compared, you know whom you compared to, you know what kind of sector times, what is your current sector time. You actually also probably see a delta, I hope. We need to go a little bit more into detail with that. So something to find out as soon as the update is public. And then last but not least, I think there was one more thing. Oh, yeah. Damage, the damage model indicator. This is for majority of the users probably the most important update, since I thankfully haven't had that many occasions of damage. It's not that much important, of course, but generally speaking, of course, when you crash into a car and have contact somewhere, it's just good to see whether something is spent, or whether something is completely destroyed, or whether the car is actually fine. So it is, of course, a big improvement, and most likely the most anticipated and community-driven improvement that we've seen on Le Mans Ultimate here for this update. Right, have I missed something? We've seen a lot of other details on the HUD, as we've seen those screenshots right now. Personally, I'm not too sure how much the relative MFD is going to be confusing, with red cars being the ones that overtake you and lap you, and blue ones going to be the ones that are without, non-relative to you. On the one hand, I'm saying, yeah, cool, so I see in the MFD right whom I need to focus on when looking at the gaps. On the other hand, though, I think with an LMP2 car being blue, a GTE and a GT3 being blue from the perspective of a hypercar, of course, because you've lapped them, it gets a little bit more harder to distinguish what kind of car you're actually overtaking. Of course, in the beginning of the of the line, you have hypercar, LMP2 and GT3 category. But I think, you know, on the background of a moving number, that blue background, that red background is probably more eye-catching than the actual car category, right? So will be interesting to see how we're making use of that. But yeah, indeed, that is for me the most important update actually to the game. I know cars are nice, I know tire updates are nice, but the HUD now becoming, as Mr. Houdini said, a very important part from when driving, as you have more information, more diversified information and more clear information available to you. That I think is a big deal. Once again, I appreciate your opinion on this. Let me know down in the comments area below. Is the MFD something or the HUD something that you are particularly interested in? Or is it for you the other way around? Like, just give me the GT3 cars and I don't care about the HUD later. Let me know. I'm really, really interested.
Number 5. Other updates. Cold tyres is a feature of the FIA World Endurance Championship and something the real-world drivers have to manage. But we've allowed a tyre warmer toggle to be applied to online and offline experiences, so you can choose whether that's something you want as part of your race. On the subject of tyres, we have also made the limited tyre set rules correctly apply across all sessions and added the ability to set the number of available tyres in race weekend. We've made some further improvements to the AI. They've had another review to improve their behaviour, particularly in close proximity to other drivers and when overtaking. The tyre strategy management has also been updated, so they only change tyres when they deem it necessary. A small but mighty update to the UI is the addition of the Le Mans Ultimate logo to the top left. Clicking that will take you straight back to the main menu. Online Championships, now in Season 2, has already received some improvements, such as the ability for our stewards to apply point reductions for unfair moves and driver rank leagues being allocated by class only.
And then finally, of course, other updates. On the other updates tab, I have to admit, I'm not particularly interested in them. From a personal point of view, the only thing where I could say, yeah, this is something for me is when I go for race preparation in an offline session, I would probably flick on the tire warmers just to get rid of the first 1 or 2 warm-up laps to have tires ready straight away when doing performance testing. Apart from that, it's great to see that the AI is improved. I know a lot of you guys are out in AI and VR and doing co-op races and stuff. I'm looking forward to see whether you have a better satisfaction and better enjoyment racing the AI on Le Mans Ultimate. Obviously, we have our own issues with them, our touches and crashes with it. But yeah, that is probably the most interesting part about the other updates. Anyway, guys, I hope you will enjoy these updates coming on February 25th, I believe, as this also marks the 1st anniversary of Le Mans Ultimate, so something's in the cooking there as well. And with that, guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching it. Remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for more news, updates, and videos and streams. And till then, guys, see you next time. Bye-bye.